Hello and welcome to the Common Creative Podcast. My name is Chris Meredith.
And my name's Paul Fairweather.
And today this is one of our conversation pieces, a shorter podcast between Paul and myself. And it's inspired by a book that we recently reviewed by Anne Lamott. It's called Bird by Bird. But this is a twist on Bird by Bird, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah, so this is quarter by quarter, Chris. And I've talked about this before, and I sort of tried to start this, and it hasn't worked for me. And I've just been working on a blog today, a blog post about this idea and putting it into the world. And I really want to know what you think about this. And also, I suppose, if any listeners have an idea. But I've got this idea, and I suppose in some ways I'm into my second quarter, that I want to do side projects. And as you know, I suffer from BASNOS, which is bright and shiny new object syndrome.
Unlike me, I've never been distracted by a show.
No, never. That's right. Ever. That's why I'm running this past you, because you're a very, very focused man.
Very focused, yeah.
And so because I have BASNOS, it's not that I'm not good at completing things, and I do complete things and I complete projects, but if they're self-initiated, I find them very difficult. So even when I'm painting, when I used to paint, prolifically, I always had a show that I was painting for, or, I do these installations and there was a thing, there was a deadline. But my own projects, my own solo projects often flounder, and so I just don't get them done. There's no deadline. So I'm sort of playing with this idea of I have 100 projects left in me. So when I started thinking about this a few years ago, it was going to be 100 projects, 100 days. But that took me to now, if I started now, it'd take me to 95. And I don't think I'm going to be around or, probably competent to complete projects. So basically, I've decided to make them 90 days or 92 days, which is a quarter. So for a year, so 100 side projects, which is basically 25 years, which will take me to 90. And what I'll do is and there'll be side projects until I stop doing the work I'm doing, which is talking, speaking, running masterclasses, until I can no longer do that, and they will become, my full-time projects. I intend, to keep going of, doing these like podcasts, which is not a project. It's part of my day-to-day, writing every day to find 10 minutes, doing a watercolor or a sketch every day. So I want to still do those. But these projects are sort of a bigger projects, but not so big that I'll get distracted with it and put it out there. So the one that I did in the second quarter of this year, it's one down, 99 to go.
Okay, you started. Well done.
Was the viral video course. Now, I sort of kept it up. I have missed 1 week, so I've got to get back and catch up to that. But the idea is I've done that, and now I just do these short viral videos. I'm currently, in this quarter, I'm doing a micro blogging course with David Hyatt from the Do Lectures, which has been excellent with a cohort. And so it's sort of an 8-week thing, but it'll run to around Christmas time. So my first quarter next year, I'm looking at completing my book and getting it published. And then I have a list of things that I've always wanted to do. And I haven't totally put criteria around yet, but I'm thinking of that. So what do you think about that, Chris?
I think it's brilliant. I'll tell you why I think that's so powerful. And it sounds a bit kind of morbid, but you've identified a very obvious deadline. There will become a day when Paul Fairweather isn't able to do the things like microblogging and writing books and so on. And you've gone, well, let's make it my 90th birthday. Why not? It's going to be, that's not a bad point. And the reason I think that's very powerful is because it's so easy to pretend that deadline isn't there. That, oh, no, I'm going to write that book one day. I'm going to do microblogging, or I'm going to learn something new. I'll do it tomorrow. There'll be a moment when I wake up one morning, there's nothing in my calendar at all. And then is when I'm going to, and of course that day never arrives. And so I think there's a beauty, a brutal beauty, if you like, in that idea. There is a deadline that we're all working against. And
it's a dead deadline, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, dead is nice. And if you accept that and you go, well, it takes me 13 weeks, 90 odd days to do a project, the maths take you the rest of the way. And you ask yourself, do I want to get on with this stuff? Or do I pretend that one day I'll wake up and there'll be nothing in my calendar, which, ain't going to happen.
Yeah. Well, look, I think of Matisse, and I don't know quite how old he is. I need to research it. But, he got very arthritic and he was ill, and he used to he could no longer paint. So he just cut out colored paper to do his images.
Yeah.
in his bed, so like sort of right to the end. And I suppose I haven't really put criteria down, but I'm sort of thinking that things like that, maybe I've got to learn something. So it's got to be something that I haven't done before, but I'll do a painting show, but it won't be a painting show. I've done painting shows before, but it won't be necessary. It might be a new medium or it
Yeah.
might be a subject. And I'd like to think, well, one of the caveats is it does no harm. So I don't want to, do something that does harm. And I'd like to think that it has a positive impact. Now, maybe that's going to be a broad spectrum. It's not necessarily a do-good project, but maybe, I can look to see one in four, once a year, there is a project that is focused on do-good.
I think the thing that I think but unites us in the kind of the do-good is that everything we do it should inspire other people in some way. So I'm thinking even a picture of a lemon, how does that do good? I think even those paintings inspire people. Maybe I could do that. Perhaps I could pick up and that's an act of doing good. So it doesn't have to be
okay. Well, listen, look, and I suppose the reason I want to put it out, and I've hesitated, I've written a blog about it and I was going to post it. I'm still looking for a hook because, 100 projects to some people might go, oh my God, that's a lot, where other people like me go, only 100? I can't believe I've only got 100 projects left. Right? But so I've got to look at a better hook. But it's really about, putting the accountability out there, because I did talk to you previously about, the 100 day projects, which was 10,000. But, I've run out of time for that. So I've had to peg it back to 90 days, which I think is better because it's, it's quarters and, we talk about quarters and 90-day challenges and stuff like that. But it's really about trying to look for an accountability. Look, and I am the ideas person, and this may just be another idea, a bit of fun or trial. And, I might get to 2 in with 98 left, but I sort of have a sense that, because I was debating, because I'm trying to edit my book at the moment, but I'm also doing this course. And I woke up this morning and went, I cannot do both by the end of the year. So I've got to do one. I'm in a cohort with this lecture of 8 other people, and I have a responsibility to them. So I need to finish that, and I can finish my book.
I could imagine you finding a formula for a 90-day project, whatever it might be, learning something, doing something, some kind of activity, whatever. And there may be a pattern you identify, which would be kind of 4 weeks of exploring it, 4 weeks of kind of creating and doing it, and then 4 weeks of refining it and delivering it. And maybe there's a framework you can come up with for helping each of these 90-day projects sort of get through the sausage. That'd be interesting.
That's a good idea. So look, I suppose the question I have to our listeners is, what do you think of that idea?
Good question.
And how many, and look, you can find me on LinkedIn, send me a message, or, how many projects do you have left? And, and what is your time frame? Are you more of a, 1 or 2 year sort of project person, or are you more of a 10-day project person? What's your time scale? And what are some of the things that you want to do that you go, as you said, I'll do it when I've got that day that I haven't got anything, my calendar's that day never comes. So I'd be really interested, to hear about that. And
I want to hear what everyone thinks of this idea of a deadline. As you correctly pointed out, there's a brutal, dark meaning inside that word of deadline.
And look, and it may be, I hope it's not, but it may be a long time before that.
Exactly.
And it's that whole thing of, just having a focus in creating something. So, and look, there's some mundane things on there. One of the things I put on the list was to do all the odd jobs and maintenance around the house over a quarter. However, I'm a little bit afraid of that one because it's a little bit of paradox, because Confucius say that architect who finishes house dies. And so, but, if I leave it, right to the last project, then my wife will probably kill me anyway. So, it's a bit of a paradox. I've got to sort of test out.
I don't know if that counts as but Paul, that's a cop out.
Well, no, but it's a challenge. I'm going to learn something. I've got a lot of little things I've got to do, and there's a lot of things, and they just never get done. But I just went, right, for 90 days, I'm just going to fix stuff. I'm going to be Mr.
That squeaky door and all those things like that.
Yeah. So anyway, Chris, look, thanks for this, and
quarter by quarter. Let's hear what everyone has to say about it. Nice one. Thanks, Paul. Tune into next week's show. Hope you've enjoyed that. Spread the word about the Common Creator. Bye for now.